Are you looking to migrate your Mastodon instance over to the hot new kid in town, GoToSocial? Well, that's what we're going to be going through today, and as we do that, we're going to talk about some of the limitations of GoToSocial and some of the benefits. So here's our scenario. We've got the Discount Bucket Warehouse, a no-nonsense bucket vendor, and they want to have a no-nonsense social media presence. And so for them, Mastodon's a little bit too much. You know, they want to have something a bit more basic. So they've gotten themselves set up with this GoToSocial instance over here, and the user is being created, but that's it. Everything else is blank and ready to be migrated to. So first things first, jump over here to the old instance and head to Preferences, and then import and export. Over here we can see that the BIF user has got 8 follows, 1 list, you know, some mutes, blocks, etc. What we're going to want to do is download each of these files one by one and store them in a folder using the default names. So just grab that one. So this is a good moment to talk about some of the limitations of the migration in ActivityPub right now, and using GoToSocial. So down here you can see there's a button to request your archive. This is the posts and the uploaded media archive. So one of the limitations you frequently find with ActivityPub and fediverse services is that you can migrate the followers across. And that's kind of probably the most core important thing that the fediverse enables. It does have that functionality. However, most of the services don't let you migrate the posts across. So basically you have an account on a server and you're posting pictures and you're posting text, and then you migrate over to another server and a new timeline exists with your old account almost being an archive of your previous activity. However, work is underway to remedy this problem, and with GoToSocial there is a tool called Slurp, which at least lets you migrate your posts over. Not like your posts in reaction to other posts, not the comments on a post, but just the things that you wrote on your own timeline. If you want to use that tool, you'll need to have yourself a VPS and access to the command line so that you can run the program. We're not going to be covering that today. It's a bit more advanced. It is actually a tool that FediHost is looking at integrating into our own software, so there'd be like a graphical user interface for migration. And then in parallel, the people who work on the ActivityPub protocol and work on Mastodon are also chipping away at trying to solve this problem to make it easier to migrate between servers. But for now, when you're using Mastodon and migrating to another Mastodon account, these CSVs are the things that you can migrate and your followers. And when you're migrating to GoToSocial, it's a couple of these things that you can migrate at present. So let's go over to GoToSocial and do the other side of this and bring them in so that you can see more. So here we are in GoToSocial, and if we click on Export and Import, here is the section to import data. And straight away, I think you can see the issue. There's only 2 things here. If I click on Following List and I click on Browse, the following list is this, the following accounts CSV. And if I click on Import and click Merge, pretty much always would want to use Merge. And that's done. And then if I go to select Blocked Accounts List, and choose Browse, and choose Blocked Accounts, and hit Merge, and then hit Import. Now imported that. Now if I refresh this page, you'll see I've got 6 accounts and I've blocked 1 account. Now the problem is, unlike Mastodon, using this web user interface that they've built so far, I'm not able to bring in some of these other things like muted accounts, blocked domains, bookmarks. But I wouldn't be surprised if you're watching this video and you go to use this tool, if you find that there's a couple of other options in here, because looking at the GoToSocial repo, they are rapidly developing a feature parity on some of these things in the user interface here. So I wouldn't be surprised if you find, oh, muted accounts is now in here. And obviously, if you are at the level of technical expertise where you're comfortable with a command line and you have access to a VPS, many of these features are actually built into the GoToSocial backend. GoToSocial is like very much a programmer-first tool. The CTO of FediHost, he loves GoToSocial. He's a command line comfortable guy who's spent his entire life working in Linux. And GoToSocial is especially good if you're that sort of person. It has a much more complete feature set behind the scenes on the back end than it does poking out front. So if you do have those technical expertise, it's one of the advantages of GoToSocial. You'll have access to certain features before people who only have the web user interface, like Muggins here. So one thing to keep in mind is you'll see here, it says following 6 accounts. And if we go over to the discount bucket warehouse, we'll see that this is actually following 8 accounts. And what's going on here is this GoToSocial instance, it has no formal connection or tie to this existing Mastodon instance. And some of the people that this account is following, like Consultatron Privacy here, this account is private. It will only let you follow it if you grant permission. And you'll find what happens when you migrate is all of those accounts that are private will need to reauthorize that your account can follow their account. And that's all the more reason to quickly work through all the steps to make sure that your account looks legit and that you're letting people know that you've moved. And that's just something to keep in mind. Like once you finish the migration, have a look at the following and have a look at the new account and just make sure that there's no one missing there that you'd actually really like to follow. Because, some people, especially ones who are very nervous about sharing their information, you may need to separately reach out to them and go, hey, it's me. This is me. I've just migrated accounts. Let me follow you again. I'm just over here now. So the next steps are basically steps that make your profile look more legit and will help with the last thing, which is moving followers over. So the first thing to do here is alias your new account. What you do over here is paste the URL of your old account into here. So I'm just going to open that up. Here's the old account. Don't need the following. It goes in there. This is a little different to Mastodon, where you would type in the full kind of handle, hit save, and there we go. The next step is to move hashtags. Hashtags are a little annoying to move, to be honest. To find your hashtags on your old account, you click on the 3 dots here, go down to followed hashtags. Here we can see Biff's interests, which includes buckets, of course, but also welding and tattoos. So the way to move these over, and this is another difference with GoToSocial, GoToSocial doesn't have a web user interface to explore the fediverse in, like Mastodon does. So like if you use Mastodon, it basically creates a website for you, which lets you browse the fediverse and search for things. GoToSocial doesn't actually have that natively built in. So the next step can be done using, your phone. You can use the Mastodon app, the stock one. You can use all of those open source ones because GoToSocial is generally a drop-in replacement for Mastodon. The API endpoints and everything maps to the same spot. And so when you use a Mastodon client, it just kind of snugly fits on top of it and it doesn't even really know that it's GoToSocial lying underneath. There are a few differences though. It's not perfectly implemented exactly the same. So sometimes a Mastodon app will kind of have a bit of a strange reaction. So you could log in using your phone and have your phone here and kind of do it over here while you look at the screen, or you can log into a app that's on your desktop. In this case, what I'm using is the people who make GoToSocial have a kind of web client located here. So masto-fe.superseriousbusiness.org. So you go there, type in your username and password, and you'll get yourself a user interface for your Mastodon instance hosted by the super serious people who do make GoToSocial. Something I do appreciate about GoToSocial, they have a good sense of humor. So you'll get this, which is, a Mastodon-like interface. And yeah, what you'll find, so what you want to do is search for each of the hashtags that you have in your old Mastodon account. So here are the hashtags, grab tattoos, copy it, and paste it over here. Go to the hashtag tattoos. So this is one, from what I can tell, difference between what GoToSocial's API produces and what Mastodon clients expect. If we did this using the standard Mastodon, it would say, well, we didn't find tattoos, but here's the hashtag. You can follow it if you want. In GoToSocial implementations, it basically says hashtag not found. And the hashtag is not found because this is a brand new instance. There's no hashtags on it. So I don't know what other people do. But this is the strategy I've got. What I do is I create a post with all of the hashtags that I'd like to follow over in my account. This is like my first post. Basically, it looks like a massive list of things that I'm a fan of. Welding, monster trucks. And I would caution you, actually, when we were testing this out with the stock app, found that the stock app was really spamming the server. Basically, when it didn't get the response it expected back, it was sending hundreds and hundreds of requests for the hashtags that it wasn't able to find. So I have a feeling that some of this stuff will be remedied, and this is a thing with GoToSocial. Anything that I say in here or things in the user interface, they're in flux. It's rapidly being developed and stuff will be added and changed. So, you may find that by the time you get to it, GoToSocial is implementing the return for searching for a hashtag exactly the same way as Mastodon, and the stock app starts to work just like Mastodon, in which case you can just search for it there, it shows up, and you hit add. Anyway, so this is how I get around it. Post this. I'm posting this publicly. Just like gonna label this hashtag import. Here the post title, and then promulgate. Great. Here are the hashtags, and now the hashtags do exist. So if I search for these hashtags, or I just click on the hashtag here, right? I can then now follow each of the hashtags. Monster trucks, welding, MMA, tattoos, and buckets. All right, all the hashtags done. Rock on. So next step is to set the display name and bio of your new account so that when people who have private accounts that you're following get a follow request, they see a name, an actual image, something that looks real. So you jump over to GoToSocial, hit profile, and then over in Mastodon, go to public profile, and then basically copy and paste each of these fields across to GoToSocial. It's kind of an easier way to do it. You have it all done already. You don't have to kind of think about it. You can just mindlessly grab your bio, fill in your header and your avatar. So let's grab the header here. These are all the same dimensions as Mastodon. So you can just reuse all your Mastodon imagery and pictures. One of the things that's quite neat about GoToSocial is it's quite good at styling things. You can do custom CSS for your profile and stuff. It's a little bit more fun. Mastodon's a bit more locked down. It's a bit more like, God, I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, but Mastodon has more of a Facebook sort of philosophy where it's like, this is how it's kind of supposed to look. And GoToSocial is a bit more like MySpace, if anyone's as old as me, where they're really letting you kind of let it rip with regards to like how you style and design stuff. It's got a lot of character to it, which I think is kind of part of their philosophy. These are the things where it is like Mastodon and GoToSocial in the minutiae are not just kind of like, this is just a cut down version of Mastodon. They are distinct pieces of software kind of going their own direction. So that's something I think is quite cool. And then down here at the bottom, you'll see this section called Visibility and Privacy. We're going to want to uncheck this for manually approved follow requests. Now, you can turn this back on after you've done the migration, but when you do this, you don't want to be, if you have hundreds of followers, manually having to approve every single follow request. So just make sure you uncheck that as well. Let's hit save here. So we've got that. And then while we're here over in the old profile, you want to mark that these have moved. You want to do this because not everything that implements ActivityPub does a great job of redirecting you to a new profile, one that's changed. And this just helps make it really, really clear to anyone who stumbles across the profile, this is moved, this is an old account, and you can use the display name to say that. And then over in the bio here, we can like literally put a link to the new account. So we'll just grab that. Biff at Discount Bucket Warehouse. Here he is. Copy this. Boom. Right. Now located at. So anyone who comes along will be able to click on that in their Mastodon or whatever client app and find the new account and follow them if they stumble across the ruins of the Discount Bucket civilization here. And we'll hit save. Okay, so now this is the fun bit. We're going to move the followers over. And this is a pretty good moment to have a look at your account. We can see it's moved here. It's got this. And we can have a look at the followers. So we're going to want to see on the other end 3 followers when we finish this move. So let's jump to Preferences, Account, and then scroll down here, and you'll see these 2 options: move to a different account, moving from a different account. So obviously, we are moving to a different account. So we click here, and then we just need to put in the handle and the password for us. So we'll put that in now. So the handle is gts.discount.bucketwarehouse.com. Paste that in there, and then obviously put in our password, because this is going to move all those followers over, and you don't want someone coming along and nicking all your followers. This is kind of funny, like as the fediverse takes off, that'll totally happen, right? Someone has a prank, will be like, I'll migrate all your followers over to some prank account, and everyone who's following you is now stuck following something weird, and then you'll get in a fight and have to send it back. So move followers, and now there we go. That has been set up. Followers at time of move, 3. So if we refresh the old page here, we can see the kind of changes that have occurred. First of all, it's grayed out, and it's letting us know this isn't active anymore. It is showing us the location where things have been migrated to, and we can click on this, and this is the new profile. If we open the original page, it will bring us over to it. This is GoToSocial's rendering of the page. So this is the post we created to merge the hashtags over. And actually, while I'm here, I might as well delete this now, because it's kind of weird to have that sitting there. It can take quite a while for the followers to move over, because follower moves are actually a low priority job in Mastodon. So once Mastodon has done all of the things it needs to do, it's reformatted images, and it's pushed out posts, and it's created lists, and it's served data, and everything else that's in the queue, it'll go and it will move over the follows to the correct account. And so you might be waiting for the server to finish a busy day of posts and updates and all the things it's doing for the users on it before it finally gets to the point in the queue where it can start to work through these follow updates. So that can take a little while to migrate over. Going over to the account of Consultatron Privacy, which is the private account, we can see here the follow request. So this is what it looks like to the accounts that need to approve followers. So I'm going to approve that. And it's why you want to make sure you quickly get in there and update some of your stuff, because people will be like, wait, who is this? So you want it to look legitimate as soon as possible. So I think it's quite important to, when you decide to do a migration, kind of quickly move through the sequence of things, just so it's really clear what's going on as soon as possible to all the people following you or that you follow. So we've got 2 followers now, and we've still got, I guess, 1 more to migrate across. Eventually it'll come through. Now you might find, it's fairly common, especially if you have hundreds of followers, that not all of them come through. And that is typically because of the ghost follower phenomenon. So your old server here has sent out this broadcast to every server that has someone following you. This person's moved, they're over on this GoToSocial instance now, please update your records. But the problem is, at any point in time, if you have hundreds of servers, some of the servers will be down for maintenance, and some of the servers won't actually exist anymore. So this number that's on your old server, it's at any given time off by some number of followers. So if you have 100 followers, maybe it's 3 or 4. If you have millions of followers, it's going to be thousands and thousands, right? So what you want to do if that's the case, and if you are like, wow, this is quite a decent number of followers, I think I'd like to make sure that they get migrated across. If you go over to account settings, you'll see that in 30 days, you'll be able to run that broadcast again. And so I have done this before on larger accounts. I've gone and set a calendar appointment 30 days out, and I've kind of come back and grabbed the last, dozen people who didn't migrate across. That usually does it. Basically, 2 run-throughs will basically get everyone who you're going to get. If their server has been down for 30 days, they're probably not coming back. So that may not be a real account. So that's that. That's how you migrate to GoToSocial. Now, if you're on GoToSocial and you want to go the other way and migrate to Mastodon, you basically reverse this process. And I think between this tutorial and the tutorial that I did on migrating between Mastodon servers, if you watched both of those, you'd be good as gold and know everything you need to do to complete the migration. And this is like the start of a pretty exciting era, I think, for the fediverse. What you have right now is this discussion around formalizing this move command, which several platforms have implemented. So I haven't tried to do this, but you have Akoma, Miski, GoToSocial. It was already quite cool that you could migrate between Mastodon accounts and move your followers with you. But I really love the idea that you can also migrate between services, right? So you could start off your career in journalism being a written journalist with a blog, and you type your blog each day. And then if you end up being a person who just does video journalism, it's cool that at some point, a person who starts off with a blog, writing up blog posts, and decides, I'm just going to do videos all the time, will be able to migrate their followers from people who followed them when they were a writer to people who followed them when they're a filmmaker. It's also a really useful tool for consolidation of followers. So this is all like really great stuff, but it is early days. So I think you'll find when you go to do this, some of the limitations, they're a little bit annoying, and some of the missing features or the features that require you to have access to a command line can be a little frustrating too. Hopefully one day it's just a click, put in your password, and you're done. So that about covers it for another tutorial. Hope this helps. Let me know in the comments if things have changed on GoToSocial, which I'm sure that they will, and how you go with your own migration and experience using GoToSocial.